To help you make a stand. Baby, can you dig your man? He's a Robert, man. Happy Saturday, Robert.
Happy Saturday to you.
I did want to bring up this, Robert, because we haven't talked about it enough,
Yeah.
but The Stand.
Oh,
I-
is
There's
that
some,
a Stephen King
it's a
novel?
joke now. It's comical, but we'll make this a very quick segment. But there's some burning questions, so I'm rereading the book,
Mm,
okay? And I like the book a hell of a lot better than the miniseries, obviously,
yeah.
because it's a book. But I wanted to ask you your thoughts on the characters in the book versus both miniseries. Which ones you like better? But if you haven't read the book in a while and you're not equipped, we can table this for another show.
It's been a while, but the first thing that comes to mind is, and it's been a long while, but I remember you couldn't help but fall in love with Nick Andros in the book.
In the book, right?
And it made it so, and as great as Rob Lowe is, and even I can't remember the name of the actor, whatever,
Yeah.
couldn't, uh, couldn't even get close to kind of how you felt where you that was like a big punch in the gut,
Oh yeah.
when he was taken away. So that's the one I immediately remember of, was like, what, I get mad at Stephen King,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you get mad at him taking away characters that you love, and obviously he knew what he was doing. But
Right.
that's the one, that first one that actually just immediately came to mind, even though it's been years since I read the book.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. That's the first thing that comes to mind. If you're talking about Nick Andros, I mean, in the book, he's going to like the sheriff deputy's house and checking on him and making sure the prisoners are fed. And
Mm,
I know you have to shorten things for the miniseries, but it doesn't come close to the
no.
book. Another thing is Trash Can Man. So in the
Mm,
book, he's ambiguous at first, and then you realize there's some like rape stuff going on in there
mm,
of him in the
yeah.
book, which they left out of both miniseries, which is probably a good idea. But he was like obviously very disturbed in his backstory
Yeah.
and abused. And then you have the '94 one where it's kind of comical, Matt Fuhrer. And then you had Ezra Miller, who comes in like 8 episodes in and is like drooling, and you're like, what is going on? And then I remember we watched this, and you were like, I think they could only afford Ezra for like one day or something like that because it was like life for you. He's
Yeah,
all
I was
over the place.
like, what's he doing? And I would say 80% of the viewers probably did not read the book and are like, who the hell is this guy? Were we supposed to know who he was? Or like,
Good call.
was he under the thumb of Randall Flagg, which he really wasn't, up until, you know what I mean? Like, he
Yeah,
was just doing his own thing until I think Randall kind of took notice of him to bring him over to Vegas and stuff like that.
yeah,
But yeah, it is kind of, because I kind of forgot about the character for the new miniseries completely, because he just wasn't woven in at all. Um,
right. He just you didn't. There was no explanation,
mm.
and if you didn't read the book, you're kind of scratching your head.
We could maybe do a read edit where we can take some scenes from The Flash,
Yeah,
early Trash Can Man, and then what it became and so forth.
I
But
like a PBO and H, peanut butter, honey, and cheese with. You can't rush a good sandwich,
see
dude.
we could intercut the New York scenes with
Oh,
that, and
perfect.
he'd
That's
be
all you
like
need to do.
running. He's like, what's going on? Like,
Yeah. And the
what?
New York scenes in the new miniseries were not filmed in New York, and you
What?
you pointed that out.
Yeah, all New York scenes are shot in Canada, no matter
See,
what.
I'm not as good with the Canadian city
Yeah.
stuff, but I am good if it's in LA. When they try to pat like in Transformers when they're in New York, I'm like, that's Figueroa Street, LA. That is
Yeah.
not New York. But you were good, and we were in the knee deep in the pandemic, and you were like, I got stand locations, everybody, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it was so clutch.
That's
Um,
not that's not the East Coast.
that's not the East Coast. One other thing was Franny Goldsmith.
Mm,
Really a bitch in the book, to be honest. I mean, you just rude. There's a whole backstory with her boyfriend where she gets pregnant. She's kind of like, I don't care. I'm just gonna like go away, and I'll let you know if you can be the dad. And um, her parents like weren't the greatest, in the
yeah.
miniseries, the '94. Her dad's very like, oh, look, we know a published writer, Franny McCullough, Harold. And then in the book, man, they weren't like great.
Yeah.
I feel like Molly Ringwald, because it's Molly Ringwald, she did a good job in the '94 series, but much more likable than I thought the
Mm.
novel.
Stan 2020 actually did the character more like the book, is what you're saying. That's good.
They did. They really did. Yeah,
Which is
she
sad
wasn't
because she's
very
supposed
warm.
to be one of the hero.
She's very unlikable for a
Yeah,
lead for one of the good guys.
yeah.
You know.
It is kind of, yeah. So I don't know. I haven't read the book in a while, and last time I did read was the unexpurgated version, which is probably not
The
right.
unabridged one where they
Yeah, yeah. Where the
that's what I'm reading
years
now.
later, yeah. So because
Yeah.
obviously I remember I had the original paperback that I read. It
Do
was a
do
big
you
deal. Yeah.
in the original one was there the black junta scene where
Mm,
they're shooting
I
there's
can't
there's some
remember.
bizarre
Yeah,
scenes that King wrote that absolutely did not make it to the miniseries, but
yeah,
I forgot about that now. Or I never read that because I
yeah,
never read the what is
yeah.
it, the unedited version?
Unexpected. They used to call it the unexpurgated version or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and the uncut or whatever.
yeah,
There's a lot of stuff in there where, I mean, it's 1,000 pages long, so you're
yeah,
getting a lot more meat. But anyway, we can circle back to this. I think
yeah.
Nick Andros is perfect though.
Yeah,
To
that's the one just immediately stuck out because I'm like, I don't know how they would do it necessarily, but yeah, and there was a
yeah, how do
YouTuber
you
that was
make it?
just comparing it, whatever, and I forgot because I was like, remember how mixed up we were with the Stan 2020 where it was flash forward and flash back, and it was just the whole
Yeah,
non-linear just did not work, and eventually it kind of caught up to himself, but then same thing, they're like, I didn't realize this character was the same character later, like people
right.
didn't get, and there's a couple characters I didn't get. I
Well,
was
they
like,
look the
oh,
exact same. They weren't
yeah,
like really de-aging or using different actors.
no,
It didn't work. Even if it was pre-pandemic and like right after, you don't need to do that for that kind of movie. That's a movie you need to be linear, I
yeah,
think. I
oh,
don't know.